So, my daughter, after years of treating me like a ghost, finally deigned to invite me to dinner. But there was a catch, of course. Because with her, there's always a catch. I needed to come with money. Not just any money, mind you, but a substantial sum. And here's the kicker, the part that still makes my blood boil when I think about it. I actually went. But I didn't go with the money she expected. Oh no, I came with a surprise. A surprise that, looking back, I still grapple with. Was I wrong for what I did? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same thing? Because sometimes, I wonder if I went too far. If the years of pain finally pushed me to a place I shouldn't have gone. But then I remember her words, her cold, calculating tone. And I think maybe, just maybe, she got exactly what she deserved. Let me take you back to the beginning, to a time when my daughter, Clara, wasn't a stranger but a bright-eyed little girl who adored me. We had a good life, a simple life. I worked hard, often pulling double shifts, to give her everything I could. Her mother, my ex-wife, was in and out of the picture, battling her own demons. Which meant it was mostly Clara and me against the world. We were a team. I taught her how to ride a bike, how to bake my grandmother's famous apple pie, how to stand up for herself. I remember one Christmas, she was about 7, and she desperately wanted this expensive dollhouse. I worked extra shifts for months, scrimping and saving every penny. When I finally presented it to her, her face lit up like 1,000 suns. That joy, that pure, unadulterated love, was my whole world. I'd do anything for her, and for a long time, I thought she felt the same way about me. Things started to change when she hit her teenage years. That's pretty normal, right? Kids pull away, they find their own friends, their own interests. But with Clara, it felt different. It was like a gradual freezing out. My calls went unanswered, my texts ignored for days, sometimes weeks. When we did speak, her tone was clipped, impatient. I tried to understand. I chalked it up to adolescence, to the influence of new friends, maybe even to her mother's negative comments about me that I knew she was being fed. I swallowed the hurt, hoping it was just a phase. I still showed up for every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game, even if she barely acknowledged my presence. I was there, a silent, hopeful fixture in her life. I always thought, someday she'll come back to me. Someday she'll realize how much I love her. Then came college. She got into a decent state university, and I was so proud. I helped her with applications, paid for all the fees, bought her textbooks, and helped her move into her dorm. I remember her telling me she was excited to start a new chapter. And for a brief moment, I felt that old warmth, that connection flicker back to life. But it was short-lived. Once she was settled, the distance grew even wider. My calls became an annoyance. My visits unwanted. She'd make excuses, saying she was too busy with studies, or friends, or a new job. I still sent her money every month. More than I could really afford, to help with her living expenses, her tuition. I wanted her to succeed, to have a better life than I did. I didn't want her to struggle. I thought if I kept giving, kept showing up, kept loving, she'd eventually see it. After college, Clara landed a good job, moved into a chic apartment in the city, and began building her life. And that's when I truly became invisible. Birthdays, holidays, special occasions I was never invited. My attempts to reach out were met with silence or, worse, polite but firm rejections. I'm busy, Dad. I have plans, Dad. It's not a good time, Dad. The Dad started to feel like a formality, a title she begrudgingly used for the man who was, technically, her biological father but nothing more. I saw glimpses of her life on social media, lavish vacations, expensive dinners with friends, fancy clothes. It hurt, deeply, to see her thriving and yet actively excluding me from it. I wasn't asking for handouts, I was just asking for a place in her life, a crumb of the affection she used to shower on me. I tried to understand her perspective. Maybe I was overbearing? Maybe I wasn't cool enough. I replayed every interaction, every conversation, searching for where I went wrong. But I always came up empty. I only ever loved her, supported her, sacrificed for her. Years turned into a decade. A decade of holidays spent alone, of birthdays where my phone stayed silent, of watching my daughter's life from a painful distance. I never remarried after her mother, always holding a space for Clara, always hoping she'd come back. I often wondered if she even thought about me, if any of the memories we shared meant anything to her anymore. I heard snippets of her life through mutual acquaintances. She was doing well, very well. She was engaged to a successful lawyer, living in a beautiful house. I imagined her wedding, and the pain of knowing I wouldn't be there, wouldn't walk her down the aisle, was a constant ache in my chest. I considered confronting her, demanding an explanation, but I always pulled back. I didn't want to push her further away, didn't want to be that father. I clung to a fragile hope that one day, she'd wake up and remember the man who raised her. Then came the call. It was a Tuesday evening, a completely normal evening for me, meaning I was probably watching an old movie and eating a solitary dinner. My phone rang, and I almost didn't recognize the number. It was Clara. My heart leaped into my throat. After all this time, she was calling me. "Hello," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, to not sound too eager. "Dad," she said, her voice cool and composed, as if no time had passed at all. "I'm calling to invite you to dinner." I was stunned. Dinner, after all these years. My mind raced, trying to figure out the angle. Was she sick? Was she in trouble? Had she finally come to her senses? "Oh, I managed." "That's great, Clara." "When and where?" She named a fancy restaurant. One I knew I couldn't afford on my pension, but I brushed the thought aside. I was just happy to be invited. Then came the kicker. "There's something else," she continued, her voice devoid of any warmth. "I need you to bring some money with you. A substantial amount. $5,000, to be exact." My jaw nearly dropped. $5,000. For dinner. My mind immediately went to all the times I had struggled financially, all the sacrifices I had made for her, all the money I had sent her over the years when she was building her career. And now this. "Clara," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "What exactly is this for? Why do you need $5,000? She sighed, an impatient sound that cut me to the core. "It's for a business opportunity," she explained, as if I should just accept it without question. "My fiancé and I are investing in something big, and we need a little extra capital to get it off the ground. We thought of you." "You thought of me?" I repeated, the irony not lost on me. "After all these years, you thought of me when you needed money." There was a beat of silence. "Look, Dad, if you can't help, just say so. I don't have time for this." My stomach churned. The raw audacity, the casual disregard for our relationship, it was all laid bare. She wasn't inviting me because she missed me, or because she wanted to reconnect. She was inviting me because I was a resource. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, finally getting an invitation from my estranged daughter, but it came with a price tag attached. A price tag that felt like a slap in the face for every single sacrifice I had made for her. I could have just said no, walked away, and continued my quiet, lonely life. Or I could have given her the money, hoping it would somehow buy me a place back in her heart, a foolish hope I knew, even then, would likely be dashed. But there was another option, a third path, one that slowly started to form in my mind. A little spark of something I hadn't felt in a long time: defiance. A desire to not just roll over and take it, but to give her a taste of her own medicine. To show her that I wasn't just an ATM. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have paid? Would you have refused? Or would you have, like me, considered a different kind of surprise? I spent the next few days stewing, replaying the conversation in my head. $5,000. It wasn't an insignificant amount for me, but it also wasn't enough to bankrupt me. I could technically get it. But the principle of it, the cold, transactional nature of her request, was what truly grated. I thought about all the Christmases she ignored, the birthdays I celebrated alone, the years I spent wondering where I went wrong. And now she wanted money. It was then that the idea, the surprise, truly began to take shape. I decided I would go to dinner. I would bring something, but it wouldn't be cash. It would be something far more impactful, far more revealing. The day of the dinner arrived. I dressed in my best suit, one I hadn't worn in years. I felt a strange mix of nerves and exhilaration. This wasn't just dinner, it was a confrontation, a final act. I drove to the fancy restaurant she had picked out, my heart pounding in my chest. The place was elegant, all white tablecloths and hushed conversations. Clara was already there, sitting with her fiancé, a handsome, impeccably dressed man who looked like he belonged in a magazine. She looked stunning, of course, in an expensive dress, a perfect picture of success and sophistication. She barely looked up as I approached the table. "Dad," she said, a faint, almost imperceptible nod. Her fiancé offered a polite but distant smile. I sat down, the air thick with unspoken tension. The small talk was excruciating. Clara asked about my health, my retirement, all very surface-level inquiries that felt forced and insincere. Her fiancé mostly observed, occasionally interjecting with a question about the stock market or current events, clearly trying to steer the conversation away from anything personal. I played along, maintaining a calm demeanor, all the while feeling like a storm was brewing inside me. When the waiter came to take our order, Clara finally got to the point. "So, Dad," she began, a hint of impatience in her voice, "did you bring the money?" Her fiancé leaned forward slightly, a look of eager anticipation on his face. This was it, the moment of truth. I took a deep breath. "Yes, Clara," I said, my voice clear and steady. "I brought something for you." I reached into my briefcase, which I had carefully placed by my side, and pulled out a thick, legal-sized envelope. Clara's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of something that looked like relief or excitement crossing her face. She probably thought it was a check, or a wad of cash. But it wasn't. I placed the envelope on the table, sliding it towards her. "This," I explained, "is a detailed, itemized list of every single financial contribution I have made to your life since you turned 18. Every college tuition payment, every textbook, every month's rent I covered, every emergency loan, every Christmas gift, every birthday gift, every time I sent you money when you said you were struggling. It's all here, meticulously documented, with dates and amounts." The color drained from Clara's face. Her fiancé picked up the envelope, his brow furrowed as he scanned the first page. The silence at the table was deafening, punctuated only by the clinking of silverware from other tables. Clara looked at me, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and disbelief, then something else, anger. "What is this, Dad?" she hissed, her voice low and dangerous. "This is payback, Clara," I said, my voice still calm, but with a new firmness I hadn't felt in years. "This is an accounting. You came to me, asking for money, as if I were nothing more than a bank. You haven't spoken to me in years, haven't cared about me, haven't included me in your life, and yet you expect me to just hand over $5,000 for your business opportunity. Well, I decided to show you exactly how much I've already invested in your life, and how little I've received in return." Her fiancé cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. "Mr. To my last name," he began. "I think there might be a misunderstanding here." I cut him off. "No misunderstanding, young man. Your fiancé came to me, demanding money. I'm simply providing a record of the countless times I've already provided it. The total amount in that envelope," I continued, looking directly at Clara, "is just shy of $150,000. $150,000 of my hard-earned money, sacrificed from my own life, to build yours. And for what? For years of silence. For an invitation to dinner only when you need another handout." Clara's face was a mask of fury. "You can't be serious," she spat, pushing the envelope away as if it were contaminated. "You're humiliating you?" "Humiliating you?" I retorted, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "What about the humiliation of being ignored for years? The humiliation of being treated like a forgotten relic until you needed a check? This isn't humiliation. Clara, this is reality. This is the truth of what our relationship has become." Her fiancé, clearly embarrassed, tried to interject again, but Clara silenced him with a glare. "So, what's the point of this, Dad?" she demanded. "Are you going to demand I pay you back?" I paused, letting the weight of my words hang in the air. "No," I said slowly, deliberately. "I'm not demanding you pay me back, because that money was given out of love, out of a father's devotion to his daughter. It was given freely, without expectation of return, except, perhaps, for a little bit of your time, a little bit of your affection, a little bit of your presence in my life. And since that was never reciprocated, since you've decided our relationship is purely transactional, I thought it was only fair to show you the full extent of those transactions." I picked up the menu. Now, I believe I'll have the salmon. And since you invited me, Clara, I assume you'll be covering the bill for tonight, given your excellent business opportunity and your evident success. The rest of the dinner was a blur of icy silence. Clara barely touched her food, her face still red with a mix of anger and mortification. Her fiancé looked incredibly uncomfortable, occasionally glancing at me with a look of, dare I say, respect, or at least understanding. We finished our meals, and when the bill came, Clara, after a long, drawn-out moment of internal debate, reluctantly paid for it. As we were leaving, she didn't say a word, didn't look at me. Her fiancé offered a mumbled, "Good night," and then they were gone, disappearing into the city night. I walked out of that restaurant feeling a strange mix of emotions. There was a sense of satisfaction, a feeling that I had finally stood up for myself, that I had shown her I wasn't to be taken for granted. But there was also a profound sadness, a confirmation of the irreparable chasm that had opened between us. That night, I knew, was the definitive end of any lingering hope I had for a true reconciliation with my daughter. I never heard from Clara again after that dinner, not directly anyway. I saw a post on social media a few months later that she had gotten married, a beautiful ceremony, but of course, I wasn't there. And I didn't expect to be. The silence that followed was different, though. It wasn't the agonizing, hopeful silence of before, but a quieter, more resigned one. It was the silence of acceptance. I had said my piece, and she had shown me hers. The surprise I brought wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a mirror, reflecting back to her the true nature of our relationship, or what was left of it. And in that reflection, she saw not a loving father, but a source of funds, a history of debts, and perhaps a glimpse of the person she had become. So that's my story. It's a messy one, full of hurt and regret, but also, in a strange way, a sense of closure. I still think about Clara, about the little girl who once adored me, and I wonder what happened to her. I wonder if she ever looked at that list again. If she ever truly understood the love, the sacrifice, behind every single item on it. And I wonder if she ever felt even a flicker of remorse. I doubt it. But what I did that night, that unexpected surprise, it wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about reclaiming my dignity, about finally saying, enough is enough. I suppose in the end, it was less about her understanding, and more about my own peace. Like this video, if you were on my side, if you think I did the right thing, or even if you just understand the pain that led me to that moment. Subscribe for more stories like this, where real people share their unbelievable experiences and ask for your honest opinions. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.